Okay, I'll call this meeting of the New Brunswick Parking Authority to order. That the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time, place, and conduct of all public meetings of the New Brunswick Parking Authority has been filed with the city clerk, has been placed on appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News and Tribune, as per the annual notice provided in a resolution adopted by this governing body on December 29, 1975. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes from the January 2000 reorganization meeting.
I'll make a motion.
To make a motion. Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next would be the approval of the minutes from the January regular board meeting. Anybody have any additions, corrections, deletions? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
In a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Karen?
Yeah, I have a few items this month. Today we closed on the $22 million bond. We showed a 11.75% savings, which is approximately $2.3 million, and which comes out to about $150,000 annually. And that's the bond, that was the 2006 refinancing. It matures in 2036. In addition, one of the resolutions that you see on the agenda relates to the 2010 refunding bond. That's the looking to refund $167 million of 2010 Build America bonds, which are prepayable in 2020. The savings on that is potentially at least 7.4%, $7.4 million, with a present value savings of $4.6 million, which equates to approximately $430,000 in interest annually starting in the year 2021 after the BABs are payable. That also is a 2040 maturity, and right now we're slated to be on the local financial board agenda on March 9th. We get approval for that. Next item is the LPR permit. We're looking for competitive contracting responses to come in on Thursday, March the 3rd. So I'll have more next month regarding that. And finally, we are leasing the 7th floor. It's official to Rutgers. It's 11,000 square feet at $29 a square foot, $2 CAM, which comes out to about $319,000 per annum on the rent. It's a 10-year lease plus 2 5-year renewal options. We also have a one-time option to buy the floor between December 1st, 2020 and December 31st, 2020 for $4 million. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Right?
Now, the 2016 financial statement was emailed to everybody. If you have any questions, the revenue was up 8% above the budget, mainly because of the monthly parking and also meter parking. The audit field work is over. Hopefully, we'll have the audit conference as planned for next month sometime before the audit.
Great. Mr. Beer, you have anything?
No, sir. Director already advised you that the bonds have closed today.
Okay, great. Any public comment?
Yes, good afternoon, members of the board, everyone else. My name is Charles Cradaville. I'm from New Brunswick. I wanted to ask, first of all, I want to say thanks for getting the Rutgers bus to stop in front of Seafood. I wasn't here presently to hear the update, but it was good news that is happening. But I want to ask about the agreement regarding Farron. Is that I know there was one issue between the county and DevCo. Has that been resolved? Has the agreement been signed by all parties?
Yes.
And I also want to ask how, with parking tickets, does the parking authority get a cut of every summons that results in a conviction or a payment?
The parking authority, for any ticket that is paid, we get a $4 fee.
Fine sharing agreement.
Yeah.
$4, okay. I want to ask, does the board have any reaction to the New Brunswick Housing Authority enforcing their own kind of system for parking on Wright Place, which I believe would be the jurisdiction of the authority, the parking authority, that is?
Didn't they stop that?
That's what I heard.
Okay. Then it's our responsibility, right?
Yep. Okay. Through the chair, can you please ask Board Member Ito White to explain how this came to be, that they were enforcing their own regulations on city streets?
My opinion is that that's a matter with the housing authority. I don't think that's
It's not an appropriate question
part
for
of
the
the,
commission.
yeah, I don't think that's part of the commissioner's responsibilities here.
Okay.
I think that's a matter better handled by the housing authority. not by us.
Certainly, but with all due respect, it presents a conflict. You know, that there's, you know, a scheme at the housing authority that's cutting into the parking authority's authority. Whether it's over and done with is...
Did you tell me that they stopped? You did, right? Okay.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
But
So
I've
it
seen,
sounds-
but
it sounds like
I've
it's-
seen the
oh.
tickets, and they're extrajudicial, and they're not in accordance with the city's ordinances, and...
And so I guess that'll be a matter taken up by the municipal court.
You know, Charlie, your question really is not for this body. The question is for the housing authority.
Okay.
And the commissioner, when she serves here as a commissioner. She works for the housing authority. And as you know, the questions for the housing authority need to be directed to either their executive director, whoever the person is that's the appropriate person to address public comment, and/or their legal counsel, not to an employee. She's an employee.
Understood, thank you. I do also want to ask about the $170 million in revenue refunding bonds. I know it's a resolution today. Can you just tell me now what the purpose of that is? Is it just normal annual
No,
refinancing?
it's basically to save approximately, you know, obviously depending on what the rate is at the time of closing or selling of the bonds. Right now, we're potentially could save $7.4 million in interest. So it's actually to save money.
Okay, and I do want to just say that it's best practice to have these meetings recorded, and I'm glad these meetings are being recorded now. I was able to watch the last one, and while I was very pleased with the update about the shuttle bus, I was, you know, I had a concern that, and I want to know if the board shares my concern, that Mr. Beer chaired the meeting where his firm was hired and he was hired, and he chose to put that on a consent agenda and have it voted on. Does the board see that as you know, proper or not proper?
Well, our practice has been that the reorganization meeting is chaired by council. Since the slate of officers from the members of the board is being appointed, it seemed to be a conflict. I decided to chair the meeting and said, let's vote for me again. So we have in the past done that with council. Council doesn't, we vote on that, on whether to retain council or not. Council doesn't vote on that.
Right. I would then respectfully suggest in the future when you have a reorganization meeting that as soon as the chair is selected, the chair takes over the meeting, rather than have the attorney continue to run the meeting.
Mr. Cradaville, we'll defer to Robert's rules. Thank you. We appreciate your advice. We do deem it proper that Mr. Beer did run the meeting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so my concern then stems from the fact that it was not acknowledged that he's involved in his firm. I know his name is in there, but to an observer, a reasonable observer, they wouldn't have known that Mr. Beer's firm was appointed.
Mr.
as-
Cradaville, I'm sure you've reported that in the past, that he in fact is, Mr. Beer is of Beer Associates.
Well, unfortunately, not everyone reads
And
New
Mr.
Brunswick today.
I do have a question of you, thank you. You introduce yourself as a resident of New Brunswick. You also are a reporter, as I understand it, and publish a blog. Don't you think it's appropriate for transparency purposes to identify yourself as such when you publicly introduce yourselves at these meetings.
I'll take that under advisement.
Thank you.
I am
I appreciate that.
the editor of New Brunswick Today and NewBrunswickToday.com. We're very proud of what we do there.
I think you ought to introduce yourself that way as a member of the public as well as that capacity, since it appears that your questions are oriented to that publication rather than your interest as a public member.
Well, I assure you, I've been a resident for 12 years, and that's why I come here to ask the questions. I'd be doing it either way.
We appreciate that
But-
you do it.
But at the end of the day, I did want to raise a concern because it didn't seem to
Well, I think we
square with
answered
what
your
I've seen in
question.
other boards, other public boards.
Thank you for that suggestion. We deem it appropriate because it's been our practice to do that over the years that I've been a member here.
Okay, and so I just have two more questions. The first is, for those two appointments, were there any other applicant, or people who submitted bids? I understand it was a fair and open RFQ. Was there anyone who bid and didn't get those contracts?
I don't review them. I can't answer that. I don't review them.
Which-
He's asking
which
relative
bids-
to.
Which bids do we do?
General legal counsel?
General legal counsel, no,
And
no others.
there were 3 consultants hired. Were there
Yes.
any ones who did not get the contract?
No.
Okay, so, and then I guess the last issue I want to bring up is just for transparency's sake. I know Mr. Beer is involved in other parking authorities. Just for the record, can I find out what parking authorities he works for and what capacity presently?
I think that's a matter of public record, but if Mr. Beer is willing to
No,
identify
it's really not relevant to the discussion here. You can do your research, which I'm sure you have, and you can report accordingly. The questions that you ask at this meeting are relevant to my position here at the Parking Authority of New Brunswick.
Okay, well, thank you for the answer. I just respectfully just end with a comment that I think it is relevant if your attorney is involved with other parking authorities, since you're in the same business, in the same state. It is at least something that should be disclosed.
Well, that may go to his expertise, but we thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Any other board discussion? If not, we have 3 resolutions. We have, can I get a motion for the payment resolution? Motion. And a second? Second. All in favor? As Mitch described, there's a resolution approving a lease with Rutgers University for the 7th floor of this building. Any other questions of Mitch? If not, can I get a motion
So we make a motion.
and a second? All in favor? Aye. And finally, the resolution authorizing the issuance not to exceed $170 million of the Series 2016 City Guaranteed Parking Revenue Refunding Bonds.
I'll make the motion.
Could I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Old business?
Have no old business.
Any new business?
Just a pedestrian bridge, status quo, still waiting for Amtrak to give us approval to do the borings. That's where we're at.
Okay. Do you have any closed session items? this
I have
evening?
none.
No. Okay, in that instance, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.